kind of left that hanging because if that sounds familiar, that's exactly the problem we're facing. It's institutionalized endemic racism. Right? Why on God's green earth did this become a problem? Right? Why did this become a problem to others? It shouldn't have happened. This young man, they say he's very tall. Adam Newman, he's 6'5". I don't know. I saw one picture of him. He's dressed in pants with a skirt over it, or something that looks like what did we used to call those things? Skirts. You know, it's a shorts, but it's a skirt at the same time. And he was very charismatic. He was married. He had a wife. In fact, he recreated the narrative about his company to include his wife and left out his founder, his co-founder. Right? But he was so charismatic that he had access to funding. I can begin to tell you how many black people are so charismatic and they still don't get a chance. White people choose which black people they want to associate with and whom they want to help. Right? They're very good at choosing that. If they want a black person who is malleable, whom they can control, and whom they can control the narrative through. They want you to go around and spread word about them that does not make it seem bad. They want that, and they'll pay them well for it. And people are like, I'm getting paid either way, I don't care. Right? Right? But look at it this way. Failing up is a concept. It does not work for people of color. First of all, we don't get a chance to be near it anyway. We don't get a chance to have backup funding. When I first explained it, I struggled with the concept when I first learned of it, because I'm like, it's good, it's good to have a backup plan in terms of funders. In case one falls through, you have another plan, right? And I kid you not, when I first started, I had no idea. I started to create awareness and to provide a physical service like shelter to human trafficking victims, specifically adult females over 18 who had been traumatized as a result of being taken as children, being trafficked as children. I didn't think that that's an idea. That was a colorless thing. To me, that's what I naively thought. I thought that had nothing to do with color because that impacted black, white, and everybody else. You know what I mean? You know what shocked me? My friends, you know what shocked me? The fact that the people who were giving grants were all white women. And because they were white women and I was the black woman who started this organization called the Exodus Foundation, and I walked into meetings, presented my ideas, I was given zero funding. So finally I started calling people out. I'm like, you're racist. What's your idea? Why wouldn't you support this? I was getting a contract with an organization that could have been lucrative to keep us going and to keep us alive. And the white people who showed up to sign off on it, because the girl who initially looked at it said, I love this is going to work, blah, blah, blah. They eventually fired her, by the way. I kid you not. They literally came and they were like, they looked like, it took me a while to realize that what I was encountering was racism, because I had to ask myself, I am a studied person. I'm a learned person. I've been around business most of my life. I'm not new to this. If I come up with this, I have thought it through. Do you see where I'm coming from? So what happened here? It took me a while to realize that I was encountering good old-fashioned racism. Then I had the nerve to go write a formula. I decided to partner with a big church in Detroit. I wrote the program. They asked for a proposal. I said, let's go pursue the program. They said, this is the guy who handles it, little tweak that he is. Went to him. He took my idea and gave it, him and the people at the church and the leadership of the church, including the pastor's wife, took my idea and gave it to somebody else in the church. Got the money, you all. And then had the nerve to call out people in front of me while I'm sitting in the damn church. Like I'm an idiot. like I'm nobody. If you see me at that church again, you all need to hold me accountable and slap me upside the head. Slap me upside the head and to get some sense into you. I kid you not. The contract was for $250,000. Look at me, people. Look at me. That's what other people, the same people, same color skin. Just because you show up and you have a better idea, they took my idea. They've been sitting there for years. I never came up with it. And then I have the idea and I went to them and thought they were people of integrity. Integrity, my foot. If you see me walk back into that church, you know something. I have completely lost my mind. I've gone off the rails. I kid you not. So failing up, the concept of it, only works for white people. I told you about the woman, Elizabeth Theranos. You need to look her up. She's a girl who came up with the idea that she could test your blood at home. You didn't have to go into a lab to do it, and then you would send the results back. So she worked out a deal with Walgreens where you could take the results to Walgreens and Walgreens would do the processing for her. But she got funding and billions of dollars in funding. She had an IPO. She got billions of dollars in funding before people realized that, wait a minute, this doesn't even work well. Wait a minute. This is not even her idea. When the guy whose idea it was came forward, it was unbelievable. Do you see what I'm talking about? It's called racism. The only thing that this society wants us to perform in is you better entertain me. So the Nicki Minaj's and the Beyonce's, and they'll pay them billions of dollars as long as they stay in their lane, which is to entertain. Show us your booty. I don't care if you are a woman or if you're a mother or someone's wife. You're still nothing to me but a set of booty and breasts. Like I told you, I had people on my timeline. When I first started my podcast earlier this year, when I restarted, they told me, quite frankly, they told me to flash my breasts. When I said no, I lost 300 viewers on Twitter, one leg. To this day, I kid you not. I kid you not. Because the only realm I'm supposed to fit in, I'm either bouncing a ball or I'm playing with somebody's balls. Or show me what you're going to show me so you get my balls excited. And for white women, you're only supposed to entertain us. You're not supposed to inform us. You're not supposed to be in a position of authority over us. And for those of you who think that this does not apply to you, then you're going to find out. And this happens to black and brown people across the spectrum. This is not just a black thing. This is for brown people as well. They just internalize it different. They're just now beginning to emerge from the recoil of pain and hurt and call it what it is. So until all black and brown voices start calling it what it is, it's not going to change. This is why nowadays I am looking at black banks and I am looking at people who looking for companies who are brown and black. And if I see them at their business, guess what I'm doing? I'm supporting them because I know exactly what it takes to start up. I know the fights that they have had to go through and the loops they have had to go through. People have frankly asked me to compromise myself. And I'm like, I think I have issues with that. Well, you don't want the money badly enough. And I'm like, I do want the money, but I don't know that I can live with myself. I want to be able to live with myself. Well, do you want the money or not? If you want the money, this is what you're going to say. This is what you're going to do. And I have to look at them and say, well, you've been saying it. You don't seem to be better. So what guarantees do I have that if I say it with you, then I'm going to get it? Because it doesn't seem to work for you because you're still confined within the color. If you don't believe me, take a look at this. For you as a black and brown person to be on the same panel, you have to have doctor in front of your name if you're black and brown. But the white person is on the panel with a bachelor's degree. Or if you really check, it was a degree from a community college that may or may not exist. But you as a black or brown person, you gotta have 2 degrees to be there. That is racism. But you know what you tell yourself? I am the only black and brown face in this space. So at least we are here. But you're confined. You have to report to them. They still control what you see, what you do. The narrative is what they agree on for you to say. You can't talk about it. If you start talking about it, they control you by correcting it and correcting it. And if you don't conform to what they want, then they get rid of you and put another brown or black face in the same space that is going to reiterate their monologue. It is what it is, ain't it? Talk about it, y'all. Talk about it. It is what it is. So now you're going to ask them, where do we go from here? Girls and guys, we got to stand up and talk up. This is why I say you have Facebook. Get on your representatives page and start asking questions. How many black and brown people work in your organization in positions of leadership? You bank at this bank, ask them how many black and brown people are in positions of leadership with autonomy. Are they just a figurehead? And the white person who is over them, or the white person who is in a similar capacity, is the one who speaks up, is the one who gets the call. You just give them a title. Have you ever noticed? They're going to hire somebody who heads up diversity and inclusion, and it's a black and brown person. Sure. And then they go to meetings and everybody's like, yeah, we're diverse and we're being inclusive to everyone. Yeah, we are. And then you actually look around and you're like, not really. When you start seeing this is how this should be, they're like, that's just too much work. Okay, I hear you. And nothing gets done. You know what I'm trying to say? We're still fighting the same battle. You know what it's called? Racism. That's what it's called. We're still fighting racism. It hasn't gone away. It hasn't crept under the bridge. It's just another form. You can change the figurehead because that's all it is. The people who are in the systems, they're what? The figureheads. They're like those little bobbleheads. Their job is to perpetuate the system. So you don't fight against the people in the system. It's the system that you have to change. It's the system that needs changing. I didn't realize how much racism had factored into it until a guy who writes federal grants and who works for the feds, he actually sat me down earlier this year and told me what it was. My first grant writer for the Exodus Foundation was a white girl. You know what she told me? She said, Harriet, I'm going to be honest with you. They're not going to give you the grants. And I listened to her and I said, why wouldn't they? Because I'm looking at it, I'm analyzing it and looking at it from an analytical point of view that it has to be with a program. Is it the program? She said, no, nothing is wrong with the program. She said, they're not going to give it because it's you. So I was offended because I thought it was something about Harriet Kamek, the person. What she was saying to me was they're not going to give it to me because of my color, my ethnicity. So I paid her. She did write it. She said, I'm still going to write it. But she said, I can tell you right now, they're not going to give you. I never got it. So I responded to one of them. They said I didn't do this. I responded to them. I gave it to them. They stopped responding. They changed the personnel. Because guess what? It was a lie in the first place. I'm like, how you would give me a grant for this, but you're giving somebody a grant to start a bridal shop on Jefferson in Detroit, and it's a white person. A white person starting a bridal shop on Jefferson in Detroit? Come on, people. Half the times I drove past the place, it's closed up. They took the grant money and left. They got $250,000 or 90, something like that. I kid you not. Then somebody else started a spa. A black woman started a spa that she was only running part-time. And she said she got $10,000. And she said, go start it. They're giving the money away. What she didn't tell me was that she had a cousin who worked in the system, and the cousin pushed the paperwork through. So I don't have a cousin. because I was born here, so I don't have no relatives. So it didn't work for me. I kid you not. I kid you not. The system is the problem. It's not the figureheads. It's the system. And until we change the system, we're not going to see meaningful, effective change. How do we change the system? We're going to have to go back to BRAC tactics. How does a system get changed? Because as long as the narrative continues to be that white people, male and female, have access to funding, it means that black and brown people won't. Let me ask you something. You really think that Twitter and Facebook, that black and brown people didn't have the idea? Let me help you out. I read an article a few years ago, maybe a year or two ago, that Uber was actually started. The founder of Uber, what we call Uber, was actually in Nigeria and saw and asked for a taxi. And the taxi driver opened his phone and opened an app and requested a cab for him to go to his next point. He came back to the States and started Uber. And everybody's like, what a grand idea. No! Black and brown people have the same idea. And what they do is they take it and they run with it. And they get lauded for it. And everybody's like, oh, they're such a great person. And this is just so, they're so smart. No, they stole that. When I see something now, I'm like, who paid the price for it? Because I know how life works. So what they wanted me to do was to disappear out of the game. If they frustrate me long enough, then I get out of the game. But they don't know me. Like I said, I didn't come here to count cows. I came to drink the milk. Y'all know what that means, right? It's gonna be a while. We got a while to go, right? We ain't giving up, right? So no matter how, so you're a black and brown person, you're talented, you're gifted, you even worked in corporate America. You got as far as you could go, and then you realized they weren't gonna take you any further. So you left and you said, well, I can have this career in something else. And you're like, I'm not getting any hits. Why? This color of your skin. Just look around you and you will see what we're talking about. Right? So I'm one of those persons, I'm a speaker, right? So when you invite me to speak somewhere, I go out and, I ask you some questions before I get there, so I have an idea what you're looking for and what's happening and what is relevant to the people in your area. Yeah. So I'm not one of those persons who go out with a lot of notes and so on. I just talk. I'm gifted that way. Apparently that's a problem for others. Do you see what I'm saying? So you have to make up in your mind. So this accounts for the marginalization that you see. Black and brown people apply for credit. And the white person who works as a waitress has $100,000 credit on their credit limit on their credit cards. And the black person who is an engineer can't raise a mortgage for $250,000. They have to suck up their life and pay $2,500 a month when the white person is paying $750 a month on a $250,000 mortgage. I kid you not. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. It's startling. So your house is valued at $330,000. You put some equity into it. So you're financing $200,000, $250,000. So you're paying $1,250 a month. And you think that that's okay? No. The white person is paying half what you're paying with less down payment. That is systemic oppression. So oppression today does not come with Jim Crow laws. They changed the name of it. It doesn't exist as Jim Crow laws, but it's still there. It's being perpetuated all the time. And sometimes, we get along to go along. We go along to get along and all that kind of stuff. And, we'll talk another day about some other stuff. And you go along to get along because sometimes it's just too much. You feel like, man, I just want to live. Can I just live? Some black people are like, I just want to live. And they adopt the mannerisms of white people and the speech patterns. And so they feel this pressure to be the face of the race. I don't feel no pressure to be no face of no race. I am who I am. Do you, as a white person, feel pressure to be the face of your race? So why are you looking at me as the face of my race? What is my race? I'm of the human race, if that's what you want to call it. I am human. Is that what you are? I'm just saying. Go look up the story. It's on the New York Times. This guy. Up until now, I still can't tell you what product this guy sold. All I know, he was extremely charismatic to the extent that a banker from Japan who commonly funds tech products and tech startups gave this guy $1 billion for an idea. He took over the Woolworth building in New York. He didn't own it. He didn't buy it. He just rented it out. And they gave it to him because he could talk. He had the gift of gab. And he talked his way into $4 billion. Right now, he's going to walk away from the company that he bankrupted because he's facing a number of federal lawsuits from his employees. But before you categorize him as a failure, he's walking away with $1 billion cash and $187 million in consulting fees. He didn't fail, did he? No, he didn't fail. He made money. He got $1 billion. For the rest of eternity, it's still $1 billion. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's still $1 billion. Still $1 billion. That's not failing, is it? Not if you got $1 billion of the big ones. Billion with a B. That's not failing. And the point is that this only happens to white folks. It doesn't happen to non-white folks. Non-white folks get sent to jail with handcuffs on and do 28 years for having an affair with your administrative assistant. While the current mayor of Detroit had an affair, Mayor Dugan, the mayor of Detroit, he's white, he had an affair with a woman, paraded the woman in front of people. She started a nonprofit. He told his employees to give her a $350,000 grant. And he didn't go to jail. He's not doing 28 years. No, I'm going to be honest with you. Kwame Kilpatrick, I'm not a fan. I still think he got a wonderful opportunity and did not use it. So I'm not a fan. But the facts are the facts. And the facts speak loudly for themselves. A former mayor of Detroit, who is black, failed monumentally, had an affair with someone who worked for him. And he's doing 28 years behind bars and accused of, and they have proved he racketeered and everything. The current mayor, who is white. The current mayor is white. And the current mayor had an affair, broadcasted all over media in this part of in this city. And guess what? He's still running things. Didn't get locked up. Didn't go to court. He's not even nowhere near. Oh, it's just a moral failing on his part. And you want to tell me there isn't such a thing as systemic, institutionalized racism? Tell me about it. Why then? Black and brown people graduate with masters in engineering. And why, if they are hired, they earn $20,000 to $30,000 less than their white counterparts. Tell me. Why aren't we seeing more and more black prosecutors in the justice system? There needs to be more black and brown people as judges, more black and brown people who are running government agencies. Yes, I don't care about the few who have failed. You probably set them up to fail. You didn't pay them enough, but you were paying the other guy. When I first came to Detroit, I worked for Middle Eastern people. and I'm going to close on this to show you how the system is skewed. I worked for Middle Eastern people who primarily came from other parts of the world. And their contention was that for them to even work for the big three, they had to have a master's degree. So they had to, despite the fact that they had a bachelor's in engineering and most of them had years of experience in working as engineers, for them to work, they had to have a master's degree. Whereas the white person graduated from Kettering University, used to be called GM University. I kid you not. Back in those good old days, when you were hired as an engineer, they gave you a house and they gave you a car and everything. For these Middle Eastern and black folks to get it, these black and brown people to get it, they had to have a master's degree. You have to be, it was what our ancestors used to tell us, you have to be 20 times better. That is unfair. That is the system that we have to change. The system. It's the system, folks. It's the system, the same system that made Adam Newman believe that if he had access to funding, that he could make $1 billion by convincing people that he had a workable idea. And a black and brown person with a better idea and who has talent to execute the idea can't even get close to the funders because of this. The color of the skin is still determining your advancement. Like the guy on Twitter told me months ago, apparently I'm only good for showing off my boobs, right? That's all I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to come and inform and educate. I'm not supposed to come and talk about the issues that matter. All I'm supposed to do is flash him my boobs. I kid you not. It made me so self-conscious, folks, that I started doing this. I became so self-conscious that I started covering up. I kid you not. Because I started saying, it made me stop posting pictures because I started thinking, maybe maybe I need to look at what I'm posting. So I started posting pictures only of my face. I wouldn't even show you a picture of me full body. Think about that. Right? We got to change that, people. And it starts here. We're the ones who are going to have to change it. We have to start thinking different. Yeah, it's going to require a different set of thoughts. You're going to have to start thinking different. And when you start thinking different, you're going to act on it. Right? I got to go. It's beyond time to go. I've exceeded my time limit. Right? But I do want you to do me a favor. Go to my website, theexodusfoundation.com. We're a listener-supported broadcast. Obviously, I can't continue to talk about these things if you don't help me to continue to talk about it, because by now you realize I'm not getting the funding from the people who don't look like me. So I ask you kindly to go to theexodusfoundation.com. Right on my homepage, I am asking you for your support. Make a donation. Help us to continue to do the things. I put my money where my mouth is. When I wanted to help people, I put my money where my mouth is. So I ask you kindly to go and help us to keep this program on the air. Thank you so much for your support. This will be available in a few minutes. It will be available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Continue to help us to keep this on the air by going to Spotify. Download and subscribe. Look up Down to Earth with Harriet Kemet and go and help us to stay on the air. Thank you so much, everybody. I gotta go. Thanks so much. Be blessed, everybody. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. Be blessed.